Exploring Outer Wilds' stunning clockwork solar system was truly something special, so getting the chance to return feels like Christmas came early, or in this case, more like Halloween. Echoes of the Eye weaves one more thread worth pulling into the already complex tapestry of Outer Wilds, handily recapturing its charming, woodsy sci-fi aesthetic and intricate time loop puzzle solving, but this time with a few sections that fully shift genres from adventure to horror. That's not exactly what I ended up wanting from more Outer Wilds, but Echoes of the Eye is still a great reason to revisit this ever-exploding star. First, a quick word about spoilers. I'm not going to get into any specific plot points or puzzle solutions here, but I will discuss some of the new areas and mechanics. Much of the magic of Outer Wilds can come from the surprise of stumbling upon a thrilling discovery or timed event yourself, and Echoes of the Eye is no exception. I'm going to try to preserve that surprise as much as possible, but those looking to go in entirely fresh should be warned that some of it will be shown out of necessity. With that out of the way, Echoes of the Eye cleverly integrates its mysteries by pretending they've been hiding there all along. A new exhibit in the museum on Timberhearth will point you toward a nearby research station monitoring a photo-taking satellite, and following that simple but exciting lead will eventually land you in a brand new area with just as much to do as any of the base game's planets. This setup does mean that Echoes of the Eye won't have you bouncing around the solar system trying to piece together distant clues, which does make its discoveries a little more straightforward to unravel, but there's still plenty of intertwining secrets to find in this area alone. The bulk of this side adventure is basically a haunted river rafting trip built around using light. That use ranges from the rafts you'll be riding between locations, which have orbs you can shine your flashlight on to float in a specific direction, to locked doors that open when illuminated. It's a neat little twist that sets how you navigate this area apart from the others, but the environment also maintains that same sense of wonder as things change in surprising ways at set times during each loop. The focus on light ties perfectly into Echoes of the Eye's spookier vibe, often forcing you to wander through the dark and occasionally making light a luxury you desperately wish you could afford. Avoiding spoilers as much as possible, this new area is essentially split in two. One half is much closer to the physics-bending, awe-inspiring planet exploration of the original game, while the other occasionally warps Outer Wilds into a genuine horror game. I'm talking a stumbling around in the dark trying to figure out how to progress while monsters hunt you kind of horror game, and it sure does play that metaphorical screeching violin well. Outer Wilds has always had some creepier sections and the looming threat of death, but this tangible mechanical shift isn't one I was expecting, and ultimately wasn't something I was too interested in compared to my previous planet hopping. I will freely admit that I'm generally not into horror games overall, and those who are will almost certainly enjoy these sections more than I did, but that's sort of the problem. These bits are so unlike the rest of Outer Wilds that they feel almost like an entirely different game. One that's fun, but far less unique, and pretty much just had me wishing I was playing more of its usual style instead. The horror sections are unavoidable, but thankfully not a huge part of the roughly 7 hours Echoes of the Eye's surprisingly hefty expansion took me to complete. There's also a menu option called Reduced Frights, which makes some of these sequences a little less intense for those who want it. But genre be damned, the story told throughout this DLC is still an enthralling one. The self-contained structure and more linear layout does mean the pieces of that story are easier to assemble than the base games, but that doesn't mean they're not fun to uncover all the same. Echoes of the Eye is a wonderful return to a solar system I never thought I'd see more of, even if it's in a style I didn't expect. Its occasional shifts from adventure puzzler to straight-up horror game are done in wonderfully spooky fashion, but those scary sections also just aren't quite as interesting as the creative clockwork puzzles that make Outer Wilds so special elsewhere. Even still, the new mysteries and locations within Echoes of the Eye are just as exciting to explore as any of the planets that came before them. For more games about traversing wide open worlds, check out our reviews of Sable or Death Stranding Director's Cut. And for everything else, keep right here on IGN.